Do you remember the Samsung Watch 6 Classic? Well, there was no Watch 7 Classic, but Samsung has brought back the rotating bezel with the Watch 8 Classic. And in this video, I'm going to compare the Watch 6 Classic to the Watch 8 Classic. What's the same? What's different? Should you get one? And if you already have the Watch 6 Classic, is it worth upgrading to the Watch 8 Classic? I have full reviews on both of these watches, so if you're interested in more details, check out my channel. But let's get right to it. So what's the same? They are both made out of stainless steel, and they both have a durable sapphire crystal display cover, which is great. And the stainless steel makes them a little heavier than some other watches. Now the Watch 8 Classic display here is actually a little bit of a reduction from the larger Watch 6 Classic. It has the same resolution as the smaller Watch 6 Classic, but a little bit less than the bigger size. And I'm going to compare this to the bigger size because basically you can see the size of these frames, they're about the same. But more about that in a minute. What else is the same is they both have the same 10-watt charging still, and the USB-C over here. This is the same charger they use for the last 2 or 3 watch series, so basically no improvements on that, and there's no fast charging. They are both military standard 810H compliant, and they are rated for 5 atmospheres. So the Watch 8 Classic does have all the health features of the Watch 6 Classic, including the ECG and the body composition, and added to the Watch 6 Classic after the initial release was the sleep apnea risk detection and the energy score, but the AGE index is still only on the Watch 8 Classic. They both have a compass and a barometer, they both have an SOS and a fall detection feature, and they both have female cycle tracking. Now the Watch 6 Classic does come in 2 sizes. It has a 43 and a 47mm, and this is the 47mm, and they come with 2 different size displays. On the smaller one it is a 1.31 inch display, and on this larger 6 Classic it is a 1.47 inch display. Now the Watch 8 Classic only comes in 1 size, which is 46mm, so you can see here they're pretty close on the body size, but if you look at the screen size on the Watch 8 Classic is actually much smaller. It goes from a 1.47 inch display on the Watch 6 Classic down to a 1.34 inch display. So I think that was a big downgrade, and actually every time I look at the Watch 8 Classic, I love the design and the bezel and everything, but it feels like a baby screen. The screen feels much smaller than it should for a watch this big. So it does look very small. And you can see here, I mean, I put on these watch faces so you can see the difference here. The bezel on the Watch 6 Classic, the black bezel is bigger, but you know, the actual bezel the physical bezel is smaller. And you can see the display size difference there. And I'll just show you the display size on the menus because I think it's very noticeable there as well. So you can see the size difference there on the menu displays. I mean, it's just much bigger print over here, and it looks nicer and more suitable for a watch this size. This screen, I don't know if I can get past it. Stay tuned for my full review after I wear the 8 Classic for a little while here, and I'll see if I get used to it. But every time I look at it, the small screen just bothers me. Now, the rotating bezel on the Watch 8 Classic I think is better than the 6. It does have the notches here, so it's actually very easy to grab with one finger and move, and it moves smoother and easier than on the 6 Classic. So the Watch 6 Classic here is 2 years old, and the bezel here is not hard to move, but it just does have a little extra stiffness, and again, it's not hard to move with one finger, but a little bit, if it's a little slick here, you could slip off. With this one, it's just locked in much better, I feel like. So this is the bezel I prefer. I just wish they put the bigger screen on here. That would really just make this one perfect. And let's look at the, again, the size of the body here is about the same. This is 47mm and this is 46mm. That's why the screen it looks too small, honestly. It really does. And you can see the thickness here of them. And you get a new sensor on the back on the Watch 8 Classic. The Watch 8 Classic also does give you a 3rd button, where on the 6 Classic you only have 2. On this one you have the 3rd one. But for some reason, Samsung just limits the amount of stuff you could do with the 3rd button. So let me just show you that quick. Okay, I'm showing you on the phone just because on the watch, the screen is just small. So it's just really hard to use. I know, it bothers me that it's so small. I really wish they made that a bigger screen, and that would have been a perfect watch. It's very disappointing. But anyway, let's get into the buttons here. So we're in the Gear app here. We go to Buttons and Gestures. The quick button is the 3rd button right here. And you can see this is I could do a short press or a double press if you're pressing it by accident or something like that. You could change that, but we could do this. This is all the options that are available, which is very limited, right? And you can pick an exercise if you want, so that's nice. If you're always going for a run every morning, you just hit that button and it opens up very quickly. And you could also have it do nothing. But if I change it to a double press, I don't get any new feature. I get the same action, so there's no single press one action, double press for the other, and again, very limited amount of options that you have. Now, if we do a double press on the home button, let's look at what you can do here. Look at all these features you have. I mean, any app you could open up, which is really nice. Now, they also, I'm going to save this for the full review, but if you also look, the long press is very limited. Basically those are the things that you have. And then the short press is also limited on the bottom button here, on the back button, which is the bottom button. I don't know why you give me two choices. Why can't you just give me all the choices like this and even have choices for settings and things like that? I don't know why they limit it. I don't know what the difference is. I'm sure they're able to do it in the software, so I don't know why it's so limiting on the buttons and what you could actually do. Now, the Samsung watches also do have gesture control, so with just a flick of your wrist, you could open up another app, and you could do that very quickly, and it does give you a large option of things that you can open up. So that's actually nice, whereas most watches don't have that. But you have 3 buttons here, and I feel like Samsung kind of wastes them because they're so limited into what they could actually do. If you go from the Watch 6 Classic to the Watch 8 Classic, you actually lose a feature. There is no wireless power share for the Classic 8. So you cannot charge your watch if you put it on the back of your phone. And that's supposedly due to the new biosensor, but that's a feature that if you liked it, well, you don't get it anymore. Now, the other big thing we have to talk about is the Watch 6 Classic has no proprietary strap. So let me just open this up. So you can replace this band with any 20mm band that you have, and for other watches, you can buy anything on Amazon. You could have one band that you wear when you go to the gym, and then you have a metal band that you wear when you go out for dinner or something like that. Very easy to do, and you can change them very quickly, and you could have several different bands. That's great. And you could also use all your previous bands, which is nice. On the Watch 8 Classic, we get a new proprietary band. So you have to push this button in and you pull this out. This button is flush and it actually is a little hard to push. I don't like the proprietary bands because they limit the number of options that you have to basically get them from Samsung, and also the expense. So now instead of getting like a $5 band, sometimes these bands are, $70 or $80. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And also keep in mind, the Watch 8 Classic here, the proprietary band for the Ultra does not go with this one. And the Watch 7 proprietary bands don't fit in here. So I wish Samsung would just come up with a design and stick with it, so at least my old Samsung bands would work on this. I'm sure they will have third-party lugs that you can put in here for the quick release, and then you can store your 20mm band if you want to. But it's just an extra thing that you need to do. And then you need to rely on the durability of that third-party band sticking in here. Now, the one good thing on this band, the proprietary band, is that you can change the look of the watch. So, most people don't really pay attention to this, or I don't think they do. But you got 2 lugs over here that, stick out. If you look at the regular Watch 8, you can see here, nothing sticks out. So it's nice and flush. I kind of like this design. It looks a little nicer for me. But this band will go into the Watch 8 Classic if I can do it. Okay, it was a little bit of work, but I got it done. So you can see here, you got this nice flush look on the top, which is actually kind of cool. And, you could have the pins if you wanted to. So I just like that you're able to change the whole look of the watch, which is kind of neat. But that's really the only advantage of the proprietary bands. I wish they would get rid of them, or at least keep the same ones from year to year, which is kind of ridiculous to keep changing them. But okay, let's move on. So another upgrade is that you go from internal storage on the Watch 6 Classic of 16 gigabytes up to 64 gigabytes, which is a very big jump. And you probably don't need all that memory on there, but if you plan on storing a lot of music on the watch, that would really be the only reason to have it. All your fitness data and Google apps and everything else will fit just fine on the Watch 6 Classic, so no issues with that if you're still liking this design. You do get a new processor on the Watch 8 Classic, but unless you have them side by side, you won't notice any difference between them. And the processor on the Watch 6 Classic is just fine, and it will be for a few more years, so no worries with that if you like this design. Now, you do get an upgrade on the GPS. You go from a single band on the 6 Classic to a dual band on the Watch 8 Classic, so that should be more accurate, especially if you have a lot of buildings and obstructions around you. And you do get a slight battery bump on the Watch 8 Classic. The 6 Classic on the smaller version has 300 milliamp hours. The bigger version had 425 milliamp hours, and the 8 Classic goes to 445 milliamp hours. But believe it or not, you still got a smaller screen here, but you get the same battery life. So 30 hours with the always-on display on and 40 hours with it off. Now, I usually like Samsung products, but the big negative, I think, is that the Samsung products just have terrible battery life. And the fact that they haven't improved over the years. I mean, this 6 Classic is 2 years old compared to this one, and it's the same exact battery life. And you could probably even go to the Watch 5 and you have the same battery life. So nothing's really changing with it. You might get a little bit bigger battery, but you're not getting any more battery life on it. Samsung has a lot of great features and everything, but I think a big one, especially on the watches, is the battery life. I think that definitely needs to be upgraded. It's frustrating charging the watch every day. And I do really like these Samsung products. And, you know, there's a lot of great features on these, but the battery life is very frustrating, especially if you're going away or something like that. You got to bring a separate charger. It's just kind of a pain. So I usually direct people to go somewhere else over the Samsung just because the battery life is just so terrible on them. But again, moving on. So we do get a brightness upgrade from the Watch 6 Classic, which has 2,000 nits, to the Watch 8 Classic, which has 3,000 nits. So a 50% bump, which is really nice. Now, I had no issues seeing the Watch Classic outside. So again, if you like the 6 Classic, no worries, you'll be doing just fine outside with it. Now, a bigger feature is that there was no 7 Classic. So the Watch 8 Classic is 2 years newer than the 6 Classic. So it's getting 2 more years of software updates. Samsung promises 4 years of major OS updates and then 1 more year of security updates after that. So 5 years of software support. That's pretty good. So if you, again, like the 6, you still got a couple more years of software updates on it. These are expensive watches, so if you buy one and you plan on keeping it for a long time, then again, the 8 Classic does give you 2 more years of software updates. Now, a couple of new features that were released on the Watch 8 Classic are already on the Watch 6 Classic. You do get Gemini, which replaces the Google Assistant on the 6 Classic. You do get bedtime guidance. You do get the new running coach, which is kind of surprising. It just came out and it's already on the 6 Classic. And you do get sleep apnea detection. Now, you do get a new biosensor with the Watch 8 Classic, and so it will also measure your vascular load and your antioxidant index. And you also do get the AGE index, which is the advanced glycation end products. It wasn't really useful for me, but that was on the Watch 7, and that gets carried forward to the Watch 8 Classic. So, if you want my opinion, keep watching. So here's my opinion. I do really like the Watch 8 Classic, the design. I like the new bezel here with the notches. I like the way it moves. It just feels very good, and the body, I like the design and this cushion thing. I kind of like it. It kind of grew on me after a little bit. But the biggest thing is that I feel like this is a baby screen. You know, it is just too small for the size of the watch that you have here. I also don't like the proprietary bands. I wish there was just a standard band that you can put in here. That would be much nicer. And of course, the price is a little excessive on the 8 Classic. This is actually kind of a push for the Watch 6 Classic. Even throughout the video here, I went over the features, and the 6 Classic has just about everything that the 8 Classic has. And you do get the bigger screen, and you get the classic look, the round look here, and it looks a little more formal than maybe the 8 Classic. You know, that's kind of a personal preference. You also do get the non-proprietary bands, which is very nice. And again, the bezel works very good. It doesn't work quite as smooth as the 8 Classic, but very good. And the 6 Classic is 2 years old. You still got 2 more years, 3 years. You still got 3 more years of software updates on it. And if you can get a good price on it, I would definitely go for the 6 Classic as long as you like this design. A couple of the features of the Watch 8 Classic, I don't think there's anything that really push you to it. But if you like the design, then go for it. Now, if you already have the Watch 6 Classic, is it worth upgrading? I don't think so. Samsung does have a very good trade-in programs sometimes, and you get some great specials. So if it's cheap, then it might be worth upgrading to the Watch 8 Classic. But if you have the Watch 6 Classic and you're happy with it, I don't really see that compelling of a reason to upgrade. But that's just my opinion. If you watched the video this far and you decided on one of the watches based on the video, I'd love to hear about it and which one you picked and why did you pick it. So thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.